If your world was under the brutal ruling of a bald dude with powers that are insane as hell, what would you do? Someone needs to stop this guy from becoming the ultimate hero before his carefree attitude kills us all. I'm going to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat Saitama in One Punch Man. Right. This freak has no idea that he is about to get millions of innocent people killed. And by that I mean this guy, bald dude, aka Saitama. Blah. This guy is the world's top wannabe badass who does hero shit for fun. And his half-assed backstory means that this guy can get away with defeating any enemy that tries to destroy Japan cause he's that good. With one punch. What? Saitama here started off as your average dude who spent a few years doing the basics of functional fitness to become the universe's strongest hero wannabe. This is insane. Training so hard that he became bald. And now he spends his days sleeping through his empty life while easily defeating the occasional villain that pops up around town until now. Because all of a sudden, Saitama, while out shopping, sees this gigantic, sexy strongman terrorizing the town thanks to sexy strongman's crazy mad scientist brother. This giant has figured out a way to become huge, and he's going to fight against Saitama himself. Holy shit, this is insane. This giant sexy strongman is super sexy. I mean, look at those muscle insertions. Look at the striations. The calves could use some work though. But anyways, this is perfect. Giant sexy strongman is jacked as hell and makes me think that his striated chesticles and overwhelming contractile tissue will be one thing that we could use to fight Saitama head on. Fight fire with fire, baby. Now, part of what makes Saitama's punches so dang deadly seems to be because his punches cover such a small surface area. I mean, think about it. Having a smaller impact area increases the pressure and lethality of his punches. But like I said, maybe in this instance, overwhelming force is what is needed to take this bald-headed superhero freak on. Because giant sexy strongman's brother figured out how to create the greatest steroid out there, which means the first thing I would definitely not do is to tell Dom about this guy, because that's a very, very bad idea. What I would do would be to get to work on replicating the drug results that we got on giant sexy strongman onto other test subjects before we reveal this to the world. Because in doing so, we would create an army of sexy striated muscular warriors to fight this bald dude without us having to lift a finger, because screw that. Have you seen the power off of Saitama? It is off the charts. No way would we want to fight this guy head on. No. We gotta find someone else to do our dirty work. Now, to build our army, we have to find the best test subjects and ideally willing test subjects. And to make it easy for us, we should go to every single gym out there to hunt down every vanity-riven douchebag wanting to get big and swole. And over time, we could build an army of giant, super sexy strong men with this drug. We should hit up every single Equinox gym in LA to ensure that we've caught only the biggest and most douchiest gym bros of all time to use in our equipment. Because anyone who pays a $300 monthly gym fee to look good is a certified douchebag in my book.
The one thing needed to impact Saitama where it hurts is with our very own sponsor of today's video, Genshin Impact. Genshin Impact is a badass open-world action RPG available on PC, PS4, PS5, Android, and iOS. So start your magical adventure on the continent of Teyvat, where you'll have control over one of 7 elemental powers. And with 3 regions to explore, you can pretty much do anything in this open world. And even co-op this whole thing once you reach adventure rank level 16. And this time, try out the new 2.6 update, which will feature a new area called the Chasm, which is basically a deep hole with even deeper underground levels to explore, and will have you using sick gadgets to help you find a variety of rewards, all waiting to be discovered, such as the 5-star weapon billet and an all-new name card. But remember to hit the bathroom early, because this update will also have you running into a new artifact and a new quest, which will probably keep you glued to the screen for longer than your kidneys can hold out. And this update comes with a new event called the Hues of a Violet Garden, a crazy festival that will take place in Inazuma, where special storylines will be presented along with 4 kinds of festival games, from capturing unique landscapes to getting freaky on an elemental stage, or how about testing your sword skills like this guy. Basically, there's a ton of events and games to be had in this new update. I honestly love Genshin Impact for being a fun open world with sick characters and cool weapons. Thank you Genshin Impact for sponsoring this video. Use my link in the description below to get the games on all your devices right now. And now back to the video.
This sexy strongman is strong as hell, and he prepares to destroy the entire city right in front of Saitama's eyes. But sexy strongman is way more sexy than smart, and he kills his brother accidentally. This angers him, and he blames Saitama for all of it, and he throws him a million miles a minute down into the earth hard. But all of his throbbing, bulging muscles is sadly no match for Saitama's one-punch strike, and Saitama knocks him out with ease into oblivion. Later on, Saitama walks the streets wondering what good is all of this power, with no enemy to match it. But little does he know that he'll soon come to regret this thought, right as he knocks out some random Japanese villain number 2 here, before heading to bed, waking up, and easily defeating even more random-ass enemies in the process. This guy has become too strong for his own good, but his wishes for someone more powerful than him are soon answered. With this Mosquito. Yes, this tiny little mosquito, and Saitama is no match against it. And he tries to swat it, but it's too damn quick, forcing Saitama to chase it around town like a madman. Meanwhile, nearby, the horrors for Japan have started up yet again, and this mosquito girl begins commanding an army of mosquitoes to hunt down people for blood, just as this sexy cyborg known as Genos shows up. He's cool. This guy's an up-and-coming hero wannabe who wants to know about some weird cyborg dude that he wants to find and probably kill. And it's Genos who tries to fight this mosquito girl by blasting around with his rocket boosters and shooting off fiery blasts at this creature, doing all of this crazy anime shit until one of his arms gets torn off, forcing him to prepare his ultimate weapon, this insane laser hand thing. But then all of a sudden, clueless old Saitama pops up right behind him and still on the hunt for that horrifying little enemy of his, the mosquito. But Genos thinks Saitama is just a regular dude and tells him to run away, right as Mosquito Girl attacks the two of them with all of her bugs, and Genos fires his weapon, causing a massive explosion to flood the whole area around them, setting practically the entire city aflame. But it's no match for this Mosquito Girl as she evolves even further right in front of their eyes into a mosquito queen, looking more bodacious and succulent than a walking strawberry lollipop. Dang you, Dom, I didn't want to say that. Genos is so screwed as Mosquito Queen Lady takes a swipe at his robot tummy and is no match for her powers. Genos prepares for his death right as Saitama out of nowhere pimp slaps the blood literally right out of Mosquito Queen Lady back to Madhouse Studios before calling it a day, but naked. And his powers freak the shit out of Genos, and he asks Saitama to become his student immediately, and even randomly and rudely shows up at his apartment later, demanding to learn Saitama's strength. And now we get to hear the prototypical hero backstory of Genos as some dude whose village was destroyed as he almost died, but he was brought back to life as a cyborg by some scientist, blah 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 blah, I don't care. And we see Genos sitting there and wondering if Saitama is also a robot just like him. But Saitama says nope, shocking Genos to his metallic bone. And he points out that must mean that Saitama must then just be a regular old bald dude with superhuman strength. And this freaks the hell out of Saitama because no one likes to have their bald spot pointed out. I know I wouldn't, but I'm not bald. Okay, this is it. We got this bastard dead to rights at this point. I mean, come on, it makes sense if you think about it. If we really wanted to defeat this bald bastard, then all it would take is a couple of glances from afar, giving us the full picture of who Saitama is over time. And during that time, we'd figure out that Genos would be our inside man into defeating his master. Because even in public, it would be obvious, seeing that these two hang out together all the time. And so with this info, I would send in somebody, preferably non-threatening and similar to Genos' age, early 20s max, and would befriend this robot, over time gaining his confidence and prying into asking seemingly innocent questions about his master, Saitama, collecting everything he tells us to find some chink in Saitama's armor. And one of the things that inevitably would have come up would have been Saitama's appearance, looking ordinary, average, including the fact that he's bald. And judging by how Saitama reacted to Genos just now talking about his baldness, this is one of his weaknesses. He's sensitive about his hair troubles. I would then begin figuring out some plan to lure Saitama in, using the promise that if he does what we say or joins us, then we would be able to cure him of this horrible curse known as baldness, and make him feel confident in himself, maybe even being able to go out and date again. Not that you need to have hair to feel like a stud, but I would say having hair sure does help, right Dom, Al? We all have excellent head of hair. My point being is that Saitama sure as shit looks like he could use some help up top based on how he just reacted out of the blue, because all of the strength in the world won't help him grow his hair back, and this guy seems sensitive as hell about his problem. Genos then mentions that it is his life goal to become as strong as Saitama, and they agree to join forces with Genos as Saitama's student. Just then, Genos senses someone about to attack them, and that's when shit hits the fan as this grasshopper wannabe monster attacks them right before Saitama one-punches him dead. Then the two take the fight to the streets, with Saitama getting pulled into the ground. Then another cyborg pops up, forcing Genos to go hand-to-hand combat with him, keeping him busy as more bad guys show up to take these two down. And this cyborg calls himself the Armored Gorilla and tells Genos that a famous science lab called the House of Evolution Evolution sent all of these monsters here, and that he better hand Saitama over to them or else. These two don't know that this mad scientist wants Saitama for his crazy experiments and will do whatever and kill as many people as it takes to get him. Back over to where Saitama's at, he comes face to face with the horrifying Beast King as this lion threatens to take out his eyes, causing Saitama to get semi-serious for once in his boring life and put on his big boy pants, dodging every attack that this Beast King throws at him. His powers are horrifying, but it's no match for this bald dude's overpowered moves. Saitama then performs one of his signature moves on him, consecutive normal punches, beating him with ease, along with his small friend. Genos then holds this gorilla dude hostage and interrogates him on what this mysterious House of Evolution wants with Saitama. And this gorilla guy finally breaks, and he tells him that his boss wants to use Saitama's body for his experiments on evolving the human species. But Genos and Saitama decide to take the fight to this mad scientist immediately, because there's a shopping sale that Saitama has to get to today before it expires or else. Back at the House of Evolution, this mad scientist is on a whole nother level of crazy, and he worries that these two heroes will ruin his evil plans to perfect the human species, and he orders his clones to go and prepare their strongest fighter to take on Saitama, Carnage Kabuto, the strongest fighter they have, but is totally insane. The next day, Saitama and Genos reach the House of Evolution, but Genos decides that efficiency is king and proceeds to blast the entire building to smithereens before Saitama can even get a word in. But in doing so, they find a secret trapdoor leading to an underground facility, and the two head down to investigate. Not even a second passes by, it seems, before Carnage Kabuto shows up to kick Genos' ass, embedding him into the side of the wall. He and Saitama then decide to take the fight to the Science Lab's special room, the Combat Experimentation Room, and the two prepare to battle it out. But all of a sudden, a damaged Genos unleashes a fiery blast at Carnage. Unfortunately though, Carnage's lungs are freakishly strong and blows the fire right back at Genos, cooking Genos good, but in doing so, ruining Genos' hair and turning his hair into looking similar like popcorn or broccoli. And Carnage beats Genos down good, and Saitama gets slightly excited at the thought of finally fighting a real enemy. Carnage then tries to attack Saitama, but his spidey senses tells him to back the F off because his animal instincts know that there's more to Saitama than meets the eye. Even though Saitama looks like he's full of open holes and exposed, his instincts are demanding that he gets out of there. He then demands Saitama to tell him how he got so freaking strong, making everyone in this room shut up and listen in, hoping to know the secret behind Saitama's strength. And that's when Saitama tells them the secret as to how he got so freaking strong, starting with 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and a 10-kilometer run every single day for 3 straight years. That's his secret. And he's totally surprised that no one believes him. And his perceived bullshit pisses off Carnage so much, who evolves into an even more horrifying beast, and he tries to kill Saitama like crazy until Saitama realizes something very important. Today is Saturday. Carnage will go on a rampage for a whole week, meaning if he fights him for a whole week, he's going to miss the bargain day at the supermarket, forcing this bald badass to lose his shit in anger and rage, and quickly one-punches Carnage into oblivion. But Genos tells him that if they hurry now, they can make it to the supermarket before the sale ends, and the two rush off, leaving this dude even more confused than ever before. Okay, we just found the most invaluable piece of information, folks, that we could use to stop this bald bastard for good. If I'm this scientist, I would give up what I'm working on and work instead on getting even more filthy rich, because everything is sexier with money. money. We just noticed that Saitama headed for the hills and gave up everything when he realized that he was going to be late for that supermarket sale, which means that this guy really likes buying store shit on discount, which totally makes sense because a bargain is a bargain, folks, but that means we could use this to time our robberies to the days when the town supermarkets have the biggest sales, which would draw Saitama's attention away, which oddly enough only seems to be on Saturdays. However, we obviously couldn't keep repeating this formula every Saturday, because Saitama would eventually catch on because he's not that dumb, which means we need to be careful. And if we really want to be the top G, then I suggest that we play the long game with Saitama. Hear me out now. I would spend the next many months, befriending and or threatening, depending on how we feel that day, all the supermarket owners in Japan. And in doing so, I would control literally all the available market outlets and effectively be able to stop any and all Saturday sales in Japan at the same time. In doing so, stopping the one thing that Saitama loves most: discounts and coupons and crap. And then with all of this power, I would then do one or two things. One, I would either confront Saitama and tell him that it's because of us that his beloved Saturday supermarket sale is over, and use this to make him bend to our will. Although with this plan he could lose his frickin' mind and kill us right on the spot, so if we were worried about that, I would use my second plan. Using my control over all the supermarkets in Japan, I would time all the Saturday sales to happen on only one side of the country, which would keep Saitama distracted like I already said, while me and my minions rob all the banks and the rich people on the other side of the country. Because even though Saitama is quick, he isn't quick enough to browse the items on sale section and catch the baddies at the same time, which means one of these things he's going to kinda have to slack off on. And based on the look on his face here after hearing of a sale, makes me think that there's no way he'll be able to resist. The next day rolls around and Saitama sees on the news that there's a new baddie in town that looks eerily like him. This horrifying and downright ugly person known as Hammerhead. But Saitama can't be bothered to deal with it yet because hey, they're low-level thugs, until he finds out that they're bald just like him, which obviously means that they stole Saitama's signature look. Rude, freaking Saitama the hell out, which means it's time for these bad guys to go. Meanwhile, across town, these bald baddies continue to terrorize the street until the best of the worst of the city's heroes comes rolling in on a bicycle. It's Moomin Rider, yay, known as the Bicyclist for Justice, and he charges and instantly gets knocked out like a chump bummer. These guys continue to terrorize the town until they run into an actual hero, this super ninja for hire, and this guy's aching to kick some actual ass, angering Hammerhead and his crew, and they charge right at him. But this ninja assassin wannabe is too dang good and very fast, swinging and sliding through the air like a long-haired Captain Levi, too quick for any of these bastards, beating this last guy in under 2 seconds, and showing everyone who the real top G is around here. But suddenly the leader of the group slips away in a jiffy, and bumps right into Saitama himself. And of course, cue the mandatory bad guy punch to Saitama's face, which is of course going to do nothing, which makes Saitama care just enough to let one mild-mannered punch off on this guy, destroying the bad guy's exosuit and making him run away butt naked. Saitama then decides to call it a day until he runs into Purple Ninja Guy, who tries to attack Saitama at point-blank range, at darn near supersonic speed, confusing the shit out of Saitama, who he then tells Ninja Guy that he's got it all wrong. But this Ninja Guy doesn't give two shits because Saitama is bald, which obviously means that he's also a bad guy, and the two prepare for a showdown of epic proportions. Okay, this is insane. Purple Ninja Guy is surely something if he thinks he can fight Baldy over here head on, but we can use other resources at our disposal instead, such as mosquitoes, because earlier, if we remember, Saitama couldn't catch that mosquito to save his life, and that man has super speed for goodness sake. Why can't he hit a frickin' mosquito is beyond me. So our best bet as Purple Ninja Guy would be to drive him mad with a bunch of these tiny little suckers. So I'd call it a day right here with Saitama and go off into the woods first to find a bunch of frickin' mosquitoes, using some homemade bait to catch a whole bunch of them, starting either with some honey, juice, sugar water, or nectar containing flour placed within a jar in the corner of a dark room, leaving it to set overnight, because mosquitoes love sugar. I would also use everything in our power to control the situation around us and opt to fight him in the wee hours of the early morning before the sun comes up, when mosquitoes would be at their most active. In fact, Mosquito Queen Bug Lady from earlier should have chosen to fight early in the morning as well, instead of direct daylight, because direct daylight is deadly to mosquitoes and can dehydrate them, which means early morning we will have an army full of mosquitoes in our jars, and they will be deadly and charged up on sugar, ready to buzz around Saitama's head until the end of time. And based on how he handled that one last bug, this guy will be chasing them for decades. Purple Ninja Guy shows off his incredible speed, but unfortunately is no match for Saitama, who kinda just stands there and allows his epic fist to land a blow directly to Purple Ninja Guy's crotch, causing some epic pain, which causes Purple Ninja Guy to freak the hell out and run away like a little bitch. Loser. Later that night, Saitama sits and thinks about the most insane problem he has yet to face, telling Genos what's on his mind, because because no one knows who Saitama is. He tells Genos that he's defeated hundreds, if not thousands, of the world's best villains, and more so than anyone else around here. But still, no one knows who Saitama is. Genos then asks Saitama if he signed up to become a part of the city's hero registry, and mentions that this registry is a part of Japan's hero program, which is sort of like an agency, which lets heroes move up in rank as they fight more bad guys, and as they fight more bad guys through this agency, they'll become more famous and even gain fan clubs, which Saitama wants desperately. Lame. So Genos and Saitama decide to sign up for fame and glory, basically. The next day rolls around as Saitama and Genos show up to a hall filled with wannabe heroes, trying their bestest to pass the tests with flying colors in order to become a hero. And Genos ends up becoming an S-class hero, which is basically well past respectable, and entering into an epic class of hero, allowing him to fight some pretty terrifying bad guys right from the get-go. But Saitama, thanks to his not so big brain, passes the fitness test by frightening margins, but sucks at the written test, and in doing so puts him in C class, which is the lowest of the low out of all 4 classes, bumming the hell out of Saitama. But Genos is such a goody little two-shoes and demands that Saitama teach him his fighting ways regardless. And the two the next day then prepare to go at it, and Genos demands that Saitama fight with everything he's got. And Genos does try really hard, but he just can't seem to hit Saitama at all, because once again Saitama is too quick for Genos, stopping just shy of punching his pretty face into oblivion, blasting the rock wall behind them into oblivion, and by the way, parting the clouds with the sheer force of his punch. That is terrifying. And believe it or not, that was his biggest mistake, because his badassery only makes Genos worship Saitama even more, staying with him throughout the night as Genos begs to get more info from that big fat brain of Saitama's. Genos also mentions that since they joined the hero registry, Saitama needs to fight at least one bad guy a week in order to retain his hero status, because Genos is an S-class hero, so he gets to enjoy some special perks, such as not having to fight a villain every week in order to hit a quota. This causes Saitama to freak out, because if he doesn't hit his villain quota every week, he'll get kicked out of the association, and that means bye-bye fan clubs. And he also tells Genos to stay put, so that way Genos doesn't get any of the credit that Saitama should have had when fighting a villain. So just like a salesman going door to door trying to sell products, Saitama runs around the city looking for trouble in order to fill his quota. Saitama looks around for a villain but can't find one and is super frustrated. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Purple Ninja Guy comes back yet again and challenges him to a duel, but Saitama ignores him and tells him to go away while Saitama looks for a villain, which of course makes Purple Ninja Guy get really pissed off and proceeds to launch exploding shurikens into the buildings and terrorize the citizens nearby, causing a light bulb to go off in Saitama's head, and promptly does a karate chop to Purple Ninja Guy in the back of the head, knocking him down into the ground, thereby filling Saitama's bare minimum one bad guy a week quota. Elsewhere in the city, the headquarters of heroes gets word that the city's most terrifying monsters are planning something diabolical, and that they can strike at any time, horrifying them as to what monsters they and Saitama City will have to face soon. Suddenly, Japan gets word that a giant meteor is headed straight for Japan, shifting courses at the last minute, which means that it's going to hit Saitama City in less than 30 minutes. Genos is then secretly called in and is asked by the Hero Association if he can do anything about it, along with this super jacked old guy, who tells Genos that no hero is powerful enough to stop it, but he is willing to try anyways, and so is Genos. They arm up and head straight out, and Genos meets this other hero, Metal Knight, who is merely there to launch a missile up into the air in order to see how effective his weaponry is. My, that's selfish. Genos and buff old guy do their best, but they fail spectacularly, and the world prepares to die right here and now. And suddenly Saitama rolls in like the frickin' stud muffin that he is, and does the most unthinkable thing. He lets off a more than average single punch, and flies straight through this meteor, blowing it the hell up and saving the city, but unfortunately having the debris crash around the city, still causing panic and mayhem. Bummer. But on the bright side, this move allows Saitama to bump up from Class C rank 342 all the way up to rank 5. Unfortunately though, the Hero Association is a little bit suspicious of Saitama's success and thinks that he had a ton of help from this guy, which means that Saitama needs to prove to them that he's as powerful as he really is. Saitama then goes for a walk and runs into Six-Pack Stud, and this guy thinks that Saitama is taking credit from other superheroes, punishing him by telling the public that this bald, overpowered bastard is a fraud, making the public hate him. Okay, while this simple act might not seem like much in the grand scheme of things, this douchebag could be onto something here, because if we really think about it, Saitama is overpowered as all hell and is one of the strongest fighters in existence out there, and dare I say even the universe. However, if it's any indication based on how we saw him live his life so far, it's safe to say that the man is lonely. He lacks human connection, and if it wasn't for Genos, this guy would likely further shut himself off from society if left to his own devices. Which is why if any villain has any sense, they should work on combating Saitama through brain rather than brawn. And even at the beginning of the show when Saitama met Genos, he mentioned that nobody knew who he was. But what if we gave him what he wants and more? Because what's worse than being famous? Being infamous. So this little act of having the public turn on Saitama could, in the grand scheme of things, actually work to weaken Saitama's resolve. If we replicated this numerous times over, I think we could severely cut Saitama off from the rest of the world by making the world hate him forever, ganging up on him on a global scale, to the point where he would never be able to make friends or connect with anyone ever again because everyone hates him or is terrified of him. Either way, the objective would still be achieved. And with this approach, we could make things even more bleak for him by accusing this guy and planting fake evidence of him committing even more terrible crimes, to the point where he has no choice but to go to prison for superheroes. And while he's in superhero prison, we would plant even more false narratives and cause all of the villains in there to despise him and continually attack him at every turn in the prison. And in doing this, this would make even the most powerful, even the most invincible of heroes lonely, eventually causing Saitama to willfully walk away from the world and shut himself in. This is how we get rid of Saitama, forcing him to be despised by the world forever. The public quickly hates on Saitama real hard, who is now the talk of the internet forums, and everyone thinks that he's a fake. And these two tank top brothers challenge Saitama to a battle and of course predictably get their asses handed to them with a mere flick of Saitama's overpowered wrist. And now Saitama's pissed off and yells to all the public, and everyone starts to get a little bit scared. But suddenly Genos shows up out of nowhere to calm Saitama down before Saitama does something that he'll regret. And he makes Saitama feel 1% better with the cheesiest butt kissing you've ever seen, letting Saitama know that despite all of this negativity, he'll still follow him to the end. Blah. Elsewhere, the seas begin to rumble with the most terrifying threat that this world has ever seen, because the clan of the sea folk rise up from the shores and are prepared to kill anyone in their path, and they proceed to wreak havoc on the nearby ocean city and absolutely destroy this superhero wrapped like a mummy holding a spear. News of the horrors happening reach Saitama and Genos, and they head to the disaster zone as soon as possible, with the Genos scouting ahead. Meanwhile, this Sea King encounters two more fearless heroes, Purple Ninja Guy and Six Pack. Whoa, okay, let's call this Throbbing Muscles Guy instead. And these two flex on this baddie harder than he's ready for, but it's still no use, and they both get their asses kicked hard. And Genos watches from a distance. The rain only makes the Sea King even more powerful than you could possibly imagine, forcing Purple Ninja Guy to slip out of his clothes and escape. The rest of the public hide in fear within this giant dome, but it's no use. The horrifying Sea King finds them and licks his lips in delight. Who's ready for human sushi? But all of a sudden, in an act of pure courageousness and downright hero cheesy awesomeness, these low-ranking heroes appear from out of the crowd and are prepared to die for a good cause, blah blah blah. Elsewhere, Saitama looks for trouble but finds a random phone ringing on the street. He picks it up and realizes that it's the Hero Association, and they tell him that the phone belonged to Moomin Rider, a hero with a higher ranking than Saitama. Wow. They tell him that the Sea King has defeated almost all of the city's best nearby heroes, and they tell Saitama that it's up to him now to save the day, making this Saitama's ultimate chance to show off to the world who he really is, how powerful he is, and that he deserves a Class S ranking. Back at the dome, Genos finally reaches the crowd of horrified people, but this creepy-ass Jason Momoa wannabe is downright horrifying and nasty, and Genos attacks him with everything he's got, delivering the strength of 10,000 men upon this Sea King bastard. But this little girl won't shut her little trap and causes the Sea King to decide to lob some acidic spit right onto her face. But all of a sudden, Genos shields her using his body, causing his body to disintegrate right in front of the girl. It's disgusting. And the Sea King has no mercy and smacks him right out of the dome. But just then, the famous cyclist for justice, Moomin Rider, pops back up like a pesky little fly that won't die and is prepared to take on the horrifying Sea King right here and now. And he kills the Sea King. I know, that would have been amazing. Nope, that does not happen. The Sea King tosses him aside like a used ragdoll, but Moomin Rider's balls are bigger than a rat's, which by the way are abnormally large. It's disgusting. Moomin Rider's courage causes the Sea King to get pissed off, as our cyclist for justice performs his justice tackle on him. But this aquatic god has no time for this pathetic weakling and tosses Moomin right back onto the street. But suddenly Saitama shows up out of nowhere, catching him midair, telling him, good job. And of course, you know the drill. The Sea King underestimates Saitama, who promptly one-punches him, causing everyone to get gobsmacked. The sheer power of Saitama's punch stopped the weather. Okay, this is insane. This stupid Aquaman wannabe went balls to the wall with this failed attempt to take over the world. He should have at the very least done some recon before breaking land, and by judging his own big-ass crown, I'm sure he had a servant or two who would have done some preemptive scouting for him, especially if the first city that you're trying to take over is known for all of its heroes flying around and crap. If he prepared better, he could have found out where Saitama was, who he is, and how powerful he is, and should have known that he can't take this guy on with brute force, at least ordinarily, which means we gotta think smart here. And also collaboration is key. This Sea King could have partnered up with that crazy scientist guy from the House of Evolution and combined all of his resources into creating the perfect warrior to fight Saitama head-on, using all of his animals and insect abilities that he already has access to, along with the Sea King's own DNA being put in there. And while we're at it, the Sea King has insane resources because he's a king after all. So as the king of the sea, I would have also raided the city's morgue to dig up all the dead heroes, steal their corpses, and harvest their genetics for our dear scientists from the House of Evolution, and throw that into the mix and creating the ultimate warrior to fight Saitama. Because why is the Sea King fighting? It's a noble cause, but I mean your royalty. Let other people do your dirty work. Duh. The Sea King could have done all of this if he planned in advance and didn't just decide to run into a city and wreak havoc. Now the one thing we should address is, why is the Sea King a water creature fighting Saitama on land and not in the sea? It's noted that the rain enhanced the Sea King's powers, which makes me think how much stronger would he have been if he chose to lure Saitama into the water from where he came from. Saitama's strength and abilities seem to have him rely, like all humans, on his sensory glands, which don't appear to be superhuman. He doesn't have super smell, super hearing, and most importantly, his eyesight seems normal. And again, like all humans, he relies on his eyes to see what he's fighting, and this is where I think his weakness could be. Hear me out now. Before the land invasion, as the Sea King, I would have kidnapped dozens, maybe even hundreds of hostages at night and placed them deep within the ocean at about 200 meters below, and would have got them all suited up with specialized scuba gear to help them manage their breathing at such depths. Would many of them die? Yeah, probably, because they're not like Ahmed Gabir, who actually broke the world record for the world's deepest scuba dive at 332 meters, or 1,000 feet below sea level. But in summary, I would bring a bunch of hostages down into the ocean with me and force Saitama to come get me. Because at a depth of 200 meters, Saitama would have to try and rescue the hostages within the zone of the sea called the Dysphotic Zone, or Twilight Zone, which is where any such light would rapidly decrease with depth. And if we did this at night, even the faint rays of the moon would not be able to help him much. And this would be our opportunity as the Sea King, attacking Saitama with maximum force as he tries to save the hostages. Saitama wouldn't know where we are, nor would he try and fight for fear of hurting the hundreds of hostages that surround him. And with hundreds of people needing his help and running out of oxygen, Saitama would be all alone and unable to see, giving us the best opportunity to try and kill him for good while he's distracted, pressed for time, and with no one to help him. And I think this is one instance where I don't believe he would be able to simply punch his way out of it. Everyone here is shocked, and they think that just maybe Saitama is truly an epic hero. But that doesn't last long, as the rest of them quickly change the minds of everyone else, saying that there's no way that a low-level hero like Saitama could have beaten the Sea King, because look around you. If a superhero as low a ranking as Saitama could have beaten the Sea King, then that must mean that all of these other heroes are weak little pieces of shit. But being the little stud that he is, Saitama takes one for the team and claims that he got lucky and showed up at the last minute when the Sea King was tired. Preserving the integrity of Genos and every other hero who fought there. But on the bright side, Saitama gets promoted to Class C Rank 1 and gets called into the Heroes Association for the chance to get promoted to Class B, and Saitama accepts the challenge. But a few of the top dogs here thinks that he's a little suspicious as hell, and they review the tape of his battle and prepare his evaluation, because Saitama has no idea what world he's about to enter. A few days later, these guys are called back by the Hero Association and tells them that they need to save the Earth one more time. Because the Hero Association once had an oracle who recently predicted that something crazy would happen to the Earth within the next 6 months. But at the the last minute she died on a cough drop, making her prophecy even more terrifying because she died on her own prophecy, and also because she's been right about her predictions some of the time, which means that they could probably maybe be in deep shit, causing everyone in the room to freak out, and they prepare for the worst that is to come. Just then a rumbling is heard above them outside, and a horrifying alien ship arrives, and Saitama speedily pops up above them to start the fight as the citizens begin to flee, but none of the other heroes can reach the ship. So Saitama, like the overpowered badass that he is, throws teamwork right out the window and heads straight into the ship himself. The aliens inside freak out as this ship's most fearsome warrior prepares to take him on. Saitama then tries to get into the ship's command center. The aliens are scared as shit of him, and they tell him to get out, saying that the exit is on the right. Not the left, but on the right. But Saitama outsmarts them by going left. Wow, he's so smart. And he finds this alien god who's mad as hell, and he unleashes his super telekinetic gravitational wave upon our bald hero, manipulating the forces of gravity. But Saitama simply thinks that all he is doing is tossing around a few pebbles, and Saitama flicks a tiny stone at him, going Mach 500, killing this god right here, and demands to know where the real Top G is. Back on Earth, the mightiest of heroes fight the terrifying spawns of this alien race, just as this ship releases a massive bombardment upon the city, right as this little overpowered green girl does some crazy anime shit and sends them right back using her telekinetic power, causing even more big booms. And the heroes finally prove victorious, turning the tide of the battle. Meanwhile, back on the ship, Saitama finally finds the big boss dominator of the universe, this guy called Boros, or we could call him Blue One-Eyed Cyclops Dude. Probably not. Moving on. And he tells Saitama that he's here because of some prophet that told him that one day he'd find someone else as strong as him to fight. But Saitama calls him stupid and punches him, pissing him off and making him turn into a full-on beast.
Holy smoke, Typepad, this guy's insane.
This guy is basically like Saitama, except way more scarier and very cool. But again, what's with all these villains just showing up expecting to kick some ass? Does no one do their homework on their enemy? Anyone? If you're following the prophecy of someone who told you that you would fight your ultimate opponent someday, and you spent over 20 years searching for that opponent and found him, I mean, wouldn't you be a little cautious about fighting him? That's basically what Boros is doing right now, idiot. Once again though, from judging from past fights, I don't think we'll win this one head on, folks, so we need to go through a few options. Option 1, starting with the famous Moomin Rider. Yeah, you heard me, that guy. What he did brilliantly when he fought against the Sea King was his ability to appear unassuming and not intimidating in the least, and because of this, it brought the Sea King's guard way down, right? Now, even though the famous Moomin Rider was actually useless, the point still stands. Boros should have arrived on Earth and vetted out Saitama first. Then he should have approached Saitama as a friend rather than an enemy and offered to help Saitama. Because we've noticed that Saitama is bored with life, because he's so dang powerful, right? So what if we came to Earth as sort of like a missionary goody two-shoes alien and offered to help fix Saitama's curse? He's got a lot of power, right? He doesn't need all of it. Why don't we offer to help take some of his power away so that way he can one day be more human again and live a normal, more fulfilling life? Think about it. This guy is so powerful. Imagine what he must feel like if he ever got a girlfriend. He'd worry about breaking her in half with a flick of the wrist 24/7. That sucks. There's no way he'd be satisfied as he is right now. Boros, as a fancy advanced alien race, should have come to Saitama offering to help reduce his powers a little by performing experiments on him, but also in the meanwhile secretly figuring out what makes him so strong, performing tests on him under the disguise of helping him, and that might be the only way to know what makes him so damn strong, and the only way to take him down. Because even that crazy scientist guy from the House of Evolution couldn't get Saitama in by force. So I say with a little delicate coaxing and lying, we may just be able to trick our bald, overpowered friend into letting us help him. Their battle is epic, and Boros goes full ham on Saitama as they battle it out for the fate of the Earth. And Boros performs his final move on Saitama, sending him into space, but it's no use because now the universe's mightiest hero is tired as hell and is angry. So Saitama comes down in a jiffy and repays the favor and unleashes his serious punch, smacking the shiznit right out of Boros for the final time, proving to the world who the real Top G is, saving the day once again, along with the famous Moomin Rider, blah, he's lame, who also helped cycle out 1 or 2 injured citizens, and proving that even if you are useless as shit when it counts, anyone can be a hero.
And if you want to see us do more wacky animes, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and check out the How to Beat playlist down below.